Don't leave him open. Sean Elliott, Spurs TV analyst, won a championship in 1999, two-time NBA All-Star, and went to dinner with Timmy and David and Manu and Victor Wembanyama and Coach Pop. How does the dinner come about, Sean?
Well, I think it's something the Spurs had planned for a while, Dan. It's something that they put together to just kind of welcome him to the city and welcome him with, guys that he kind of grew up watching play and the icons, basically, of the organization. So it was nice to see Big Dave there, and nice to break bread with Timmy. Timmy's like Howard Hughes, he's just like a recluse. You see him every once in a while. You're like, hey man, what's going on? I mean, he's always in hiding, and to have Manu there was really special. And the thing I loved about it most, Dan, I'll be honest with you, is when he walked in, just to see the expression on his face when he saw David and he saw Timmy and he saw Manu was something else. There was like a reverence there.
Oh, was he surprised? He didn't know that Duncan and David were going to be there?
I think he knew, but it's just that, I'm an old curmudgeon, right? And it's nice to see a young player that, appreciates the history of the game and appreciates those guys that came before him. And you could tell that he really appreciated those guys.
Was there a game plan during dinner?
No, not at all. We just, Pop told me when he called me, welcome him, and you guys can ask him questions, and he's going to ask you a lot of questions, and that's basically what it was. And it was nice because everybody around the table got to go around and talk about their NBA experience and what you can expect, and give him some tips and some pointers about how to prepare himself, how to get ready for the season, how to endure the gruel. And so it was a lot of fun. But on his end too, he's a very, very mature young man, Dan, and he asked all the right questions. I mean, I think we all came away from that dinner just even more excited, more enthusiastic than we'd ever been.
Give me for instance, what was he asking? Because I was more curious about what he was asking more than what you were telling him.
Just questions about how to prepare your body, how to get rest, what the travel schedule is like, because you're coming from playing 55 to 60 games to playing 82. I think he wants to play as many games as he possibly can, but he's already somebody who is very in tune with eating the right way, getting his rest. He asked us all if, how can you get enough sleep on the road? I mean, what kind of young person asked that question? I mean, most guys are like, hey, what's the best club to go to in Philly or New York? He's asking how he can get rest on back-to-backs. And so, again, just, really mature and wise beyond his years.
But I'm wondering if you said he could emulate David Robinson or Tim Duncan style, which path would you point him? Or maybe somebody else, but just the fact that those two legends were there.
I think he's going to be who he is. I give a lot of credit to Dave and Tim. I've said it over and over again that the real reason the San Antonio Spurs have been successful for 20 plus years, 25 years, is because David Robinson and Tim Duncan didn't read the superstar handbook. They're not divas. They're not full of themselves. They don't feel like they're bigger than the franchise. Very coachable guys, and he fits that mold perfectly. You can ask for a better young man to now take over the reins, but he also reminds me of what Steve Kerr said about Steph Curry. Excuse me. He said that he's very comfortable in his own skin. He's not trying to please a certain crowd. He doesn't care about all the noise on social media. He's just going to go on and be himself, and he sets high expectations for himself, and that's what he looks to. He doesn't look for outside noise.
Talking to Sean Elliott, Spurs TV analyst and two-time NBA All-Star. He may not have expectations. He may not want to listen to that noise, but we're going to have expectations. You're going to have expectations. You're going to go, okay, what can we expect from him? So what is fair to him to expect this rookie season, individually and team-wise?
Well, I think you're asking me, and you're asking the Spurs organization. I've talked to Pop about it a little bit, and it's just, our expectations are realistic. I think fans' expectations are always unrealistic. The media's expectations are, they're way out of whack. He's 19 years old. He's going to have an adjustment to the NBA. It's not going to be easy. He understands that. And so for me, I'm thinking, we're going to be a much better team, obviously, because of him. He's going to make everybody else better. I don't know how that's going to translate into wins, but right now, if you ask Pop, he'd tell you the same thing. It's not about the wins and losses. It's about developing and getting better and getting a foundation for his NBA career. So I'm looking at this team. I think we're going to win more games, obviously. I think we're going to win a lot more games. But I can't talk about playoffs or anything like that because there's so many variables that go into the season.
But do you think there, and I've said this, it feels like the transition will be easier defensively than offensively for him, that he will be instantaneously impactful on the defensive end.
I don't think there's any question there, Dan. I've heard people talk about, he needs to bulk up and he needs to get stronger. I think that I just don't buy into that. I really don't. This isn't the 80s or 90s anymore. This isn't wrestling with a basketball on the court. It's in their era of the bad boys. The NBA is not nearly as physical as it was back then. So he's going to get – and by the way, playing in the European League and the French League is a lot more physical than playing in the NBA. And he's been playing as a professional since 15 or 16 years old against grown men that are 25 to 30 years old. So it's not like guys are going to beat him up. That doesn't happen anymore in this league. So I expect him to be very effective on the offensive end of the floor. But you're right. I'm more impressed with what he does on the defensive end because if you're somebody penetrating, you get in the paint, you're thinking about how in the world am I going to get this shot up over this big guy? He's going to block a lot of shots. He's going to alter more shots than he blocks. And for an offensive player going in there, he's going to be in the back of your mind every single time you enter the paint area. And not only that, Dan, he can move his feet for a guy who's 7'5".
Yeah.
So on screen and rolls, he's not a liability. He's an asset. He can switch if he has to on a point guard, and he can space guys. If you've seen the tape, he can space guys, 5 to 10 feet and still intimidate or block the shot. So I'm more impressed. I mean, we could talk about watching him defensively. I'm more impressed with what he does defensively than offensively. I think you're spot on there.
Sean, the Spurs put out a social media video where Victor is shooting jumpers. Mm-hmm. They got to show him making the jumpers. He made 2 dunks and like a 12-footer. Yeah. Is Popovich trying to tamp down the expectations?
Maybe.
So I'm going, what are you doing?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who takes any stock in that? I mean, it's fun to laugh about it for sure. Yeah. Maybe they need to edit that film a little bit, but hey, I'm not judging him after on 3 missed shots. I mean, there's no way.
Finish this sentence. If David Robinson doesn't hurt his back, 1996.
If David Robinson doesn't hurt his back, well, it was his foot. First off, he broke his foot.
I thought he
had back issues his whole career, but he broke his foot that year, and that's what kept him out majority of the season. And I'll say if David Robinson doesn't break his foot, no Timmy Duncan, no dynasty.
Yeah. And Pop came on, didn't he?
Yeah, Pop took over for Bob Hill that year. I think we were 3-15 at the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, who knows what happens? Who knows if Pop is here? Who knows? But, I tell you what, Pop really did a phenomenal job that year, even though we didn't have David and we went into the lottery. You could tell that guys were playing hard for him and knew exactly what he was doing. And he was changing the mindset on the defensive end of the floor. So I think when I sat back and I watched it, and when Dave watched it, we knew that Pop was going to be the right guy for the job.
For some reason, I thought it was his back.
But he did have back issues. He did. You can have your guys check on that, but I'm sure that it was his. He broke the outer bone in his foot, and that's what kept him out of the majority of the time.
That might be one of the great injuries in the history of sports, Sean.
Probably. I mean, you get Timmy Duncan out of it, and you turn it into a 20-year run of greatness, and then you have these 4 or 5 years were down years, and you happen to get Victor Wembanyama. But the fact that we get Timmy and the way he was as a human being, as a teammate, kind of it still reverberates. And you have a guy like Victor, like I said, he walks into the dinner and he sees Tim Duncan, and you could just see his expression and how he held these guys in such high esteem.
I went there Tim's rookie year to one of your practices, and you guys made Tim carry all the basketball. Like, you guys, not hazed, but I remember that you put him in his place when he came in, and here he is, the franchise savior.
Pretty crazy, isn't it? I mean, we weren't the type to, really give it, big time to guys. I mean, when I was a rookie, I had to carry bags. I had to help unload bags off the carousel every once in a while. But that was about it. Now guys have to, bring donuts to the facility. But I can't imagine these guys hazing Victor.
No.
I think they'll give him a little bit of crap. They'll give him a little bit of crap.
I hope they do.
A few menial tasks,
Yeah.
but it won't get too bad.
Everybody keeps calling in. They're trying to give Victor a nickname. We have the French Prince instead of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The French Chise.
The French Chise.
Okay.
Okay. I like that.
Okay.
I could roll with that one.
How about Escargot?
Escargot.
You're a broadcaster.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, Escargot is awesome. But we got that one is going to be 20 years on from now.
Oh.
Let's see how the career develops, and we'll call him the Escargot.
Do you have a Michael Jordan story for us?
Oh, I mean, yes, the one story that I tell people, Dan, I still tell people that Michael Jordan is the most underrated player in the NBA.
Really?
Yeah. You know why I say that? Because every time somebody has a hot month or a hot year, a hot month, they go on a roll. There's a side screen, Michael and this other guy, and people just forget that there are two sides of the floor. They don't take into account competitiveness. You can compare Michael's stats, but you can't compare the drive, the determination to win. It's almost insulting when a guy, comes out and has a 30-point or 35-point month, and you compare it to Michael Jordan. That man was an absolute beast on the defensive end of the floor. He was the greatest defensive player that I have ever seen. And when people start comparing people just because of numbers, I think it's a travesty, and I think it's people don't know basketball. So I will say, it was our second or third year. We went to Chicago. We were beating the pants off of them. I think we're up 25, the middle of the third on a AT&T game. And all Phil did in that second half, the fourth quarter, is ran like a four corners. And I was guarding Michael, and he was throwing up, you see that shot that he threw up in the Gatorade commercial? I say that was child's play. The stuff that he was doing in that fourth quarter, I had to guard him. And basically, they would get the ball off the glass, give it to Michael, spread the floor, and he's coming right at me one-on-one. And it was a guessing game. That's all it is. Is he going left or right? So half the time, I was guessing incorrectly. I was guessing wrong. And he was getting in there. The tongue was coming out. He's flipping balls off the glass left and right. And the crowd's going crazy. He stole a pass, dunked on David Robinson. We ended up winning that game by 1 or 2 points.
Oh, boy.
And it was one of the greatest performances that I've been a part of. And it was just fun. It was just, for me, it was a lot of fun to be on the court at that time.
You could get embarrassed every time you're playing against him.
Yeah, but so what? So what? I mean,
you're in good company.
Yeah.
You're in good company.
You get a chance. I told people that when I guarded Michael, for me, Dan, personally, it was a thrill. If he scores 40 on you, so what? You get that opportunity. Take on that challenge. Why would people be afraid of that moment? I don't understand that. I would take it as a challenge, and I would relish every moment of it, even if he dunked on me.
Could you take him now?
Oh, no question. He's out of shape, smoking cigars. I'm about to go lift right now, man. I'm about to go throw some kettlebells around.
He worked out Brandon Miller, and he shot an air ball from the free throw line.
Yeah. I don't doubt it, man.
What
The golf swing's not the same as a jump shot.
Oh, come on. That's embarrassing.
I'm still in reasonable shape, Dan. I'm telling you. Yeah, well, free throw, yeah. You shouldn't airball free throw. I don't care.
No.
Especially when you were showing off, shooting them blind or, shooting them with your eyes closed in the game.
Great to connect with you, and you'll have fun this season. Thanks for joining us as always, Sean.
Appreciate it, Dan. It's been too long, man.
That's Sean Elliott, former Spur great.